dear faculty, personnel, and my very dear students. Assalamu alaikum. Basically, I think and I believe in it that all human activities are business activities. There is not a single activity which is not a business activity. But there are certain formalities to transform that activity into a business venture. There are certain rules, regulations that man has, devised during the progression of its civilization. So I think if you go back when man started realizing that I'm man, you would feel that business started. So business is a kind of realization that we can improve our livelihood and we can extend that level of livelihood to our fellow beings. So this is, in my eye, a business. And if you look at and this is one of the mandate of NIBGE, that whatever R&D activity we are involved in, we have to transform or translate that into a commercial venture. So this is one of the mandate, but to transform an R&D activity from laboratory to a commercial venture, it requires about 13 different steps and levels whereby you can transform one R&D activity into a business. So bear with me, I would like you to take to the history when actually biotechnology was developing. So there are 4 major phases where biotechnology actually went through. And the first phase was when people, they were, 600 years before Christ, Sumerians and Babylonians, when they started realizing that we want to make some materials which we can eat properly, like cheese, yogurt, wine, and things like that. Now this was business. As I mentioned in the beginning, that realization that some activity can be generated is the first step for realizing that any activity could be a business activity. So realization is the first thing. Then, so this is business, how man entered into business, and especially biotechnologists, they entered into business activity. The next thing was innovation. Business cannot live without innovation. This is a mandatory, step that any business would have. You cannot do business unless until you innovate. And that innovation was that those biotechnologists, they started realizing that what are the causative agents behind these reactions. And those causative agents were microbes, which were causing those reactions. They were making yogurt, they were making cheese, they were making wine for them. But they were not aware of that what specific causative agent is responsible for a specific reaction. So isolating pure cultures among those communities of microbes was a step forward in innovation, that they realized that one specific microorganism is responsible for any specific reaction. So that was the third phase. In fourth phase was that how we can maintain these specific causative agents and we can make them live in isolation so that other contaminants cannot intrude themselves into the reaction vessel. So I'm just giving this example just to make you realize that all you do is a business, but to make it a business, really, follow these guidelines which have been laid down before you. Because in a civilized society, you have to abide by certain formulations, certain regulations, certain rules, certain laws. So you have to transform, as I said earlier, that one single activity, R&D activity, takes or requires 13 different levels that you have to pass through to get into a commercial venture. And our experts in that area, they have pointed out some of them in one way or another, that how you can transform your R&D activity into a business venture. Now, just let me give you one single example. Director PIEAS has given you a few examples and very, valid examples. But let me give you one more example in this, which is very recent. I mean, Taq polymerase, students and researchers, they are aware of that this enzyme, which is used in PCR reactions, is a kind of guinea pig example for economic returns in states. I mean, they have said that this Taq polymerase phase is a guinea pig example for economic returns. But in 2004, in America, in one single country, they introduced one enzyme which is called cellulase into detergent surf. The trade name was surf, जो हम भी use करते हैं surf को. So they called it biosurf. So they introduced that cellulase enzyme in very minute quantities into that detergents called biosurf. So in 2004, just this introduction, and what this enzyme does, that after 100 washes, your cotton clothes would appear as good as new. So just by introducing this one enzyme, it surpassed the guinea pig example of Taq polymerase for that very year. And it made more business in 2004 in America. Biosurf made more business against Taq polymerase. So you can imagine that, and there are 5 to 6 million types of, different types of molecules which are being generated, which are being synthesized by tiny creatures, microorganisms. There are 5 to 6 million different types of chemicals which are being synthesized by different types of natural microorganisms. So these are factories in miniature, these microbes. So you can transform each and every molecule, these 5 to 6 million different types of chemicals, into a business venture. So you can assess the mammoth size of the business idea that we may harbor in our mind and in our potential, that you can transform at least 5 to 6 million different types of chemicals into business venture. And we have been giving only few examples, that one single example can transform one R&D activity into a mammoth size of business activity. So I have given this example just to make you realize that you got power in your brain, you got power in your hands, and you have power in your ideas. You can transform, you can convert those powers into really a mammoth kind of activity in coming times. And there are models to follow. नकल बहुत आसान होती है, but उसके लिए एक चीज चाहिए होती है, अकल. नकल रहा अकल पाए. ये जो सिंध में हो रही है उसकी मैं बात नहीं कर रहा, सिंध के एग्जामिनेशन में उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा. But there are models to follow. This is one reason I always advise my students that follow models. Keep a role model, because that way it will pave way for you you can follow those role models, and you can reach to a success point where you can have a better life. So business models and innovative models are also there to follow. For example, there are models in China, for example. There are many professors in Chinese universities who have their laboratories, and alongside their laboratories, they have factories and production units for those ideas. Now, each professor is not only, and he is hiring those students as experts afterwards, after getting a degree level, he's converting or hiring those students in their factories, in their, mills and so on and so forth, in their factories and industries, to convert those ideas into business. And they are billionaires, some of them, and you will find American universities loaded with Chinese professors. Because Chinese, they are really guinea pig working models, right? They are workaholic, and that's why we are now on the right path, that we are following a working model which will take us to some destination, I think, hopefully, if everything goes straight. So there are models in States, there are models in Europe, where working models, where R&D activities are being transformed into research or commercial ventures. So I think I really appreciate the initiative which has been taken by PIEAS, and they have invited so many dignitaries to fortify their, idea of making you realize that this activity, what we are doing, is really worth pursuing, and just they are directing or asking us to converge our direction or vision to a point where we can transform this R&D activity into a commercial venture. Now, as Tawana sir has said, that this list is just a glimpse. Otherwise, each one of us has multiple ideas that can be transformed into a commercial venture. So, just to let you have your refreshment, I don't want to be a barrier between the management and your refreshment. So I stop here, and once again at the end, I thank all the guests from PIEAS, from different entrepreneurs, from banking side, and all you people who are, I think, future businessmen, the scientific community, I mean, and our future hope students who keep us, who refresh us to keep on thinking on new ideas. And thank you all, and God bless you all. Thank you.